Islands, northern England. Parts of the south, though, may well stay fairly glum with further rain.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good evening. This is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. In Staffordshire, on the A50 eastbound, a road traffic collision has closed all lanes between the junctions with the A518 Uttoxeter North and the A518 Uttoxeter East. Current delays are about 10 minutes longer than usual. Normal traffic conditions are anticipated to return later this evening. Meanwhile, in Devon, the A38 westbound is experiencing delays due to an incident involving multiple vehicles between the A3121 and the A374. One of two lanes remains closed. And on the trains, disruption continues with Avanti West Coast between London Euston and Watford Junction. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
It's our biggest Great British giveaway to date. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas and has all of the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that any adventures you take in your new motorhome are taken in style. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Hello there, it's 6 o'clock. I'm Michelle Dewberry and this is Dewbs and Kirk. Coming up tonight, a big moment for Reform UK as they gain their first sitting MP's defection. Danny Kruger, he says, the torch of conservatism has been passed to the new party. Do you agree with that? And apparently the first migrant deportation flights will happen this week. I personally will believe that when I see it, but notwithstanding that, I'm asking you, is it too little too late, or is it a step in the right direction? And speaking of big moments, a huge rally took place in London at the weekend. Unite the Kingdom. Were you there? What did you think to it? And of course, Elon Musk getting involved as well. Your thoughts? Also tonight, Vice President JD Vance has hosted the Charlie Kirk Show. Meanwhile, people are still celebrating that man's murder. What do you even say to this? Well, I've got all of that and lots more keeping me company tonight. I've got the Head of Policy for Reform UK, Zia Youssef, and I've got the Labour MP for Brent West, Barry Gardner. But before we get stuck in, here's your 6 o'clock news headlines.
Thanks, Michelle. Good evening to you. Let's get you up to date with the headlines. The Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, says he would never have appointed Peter Mandelson as ambassador to the US if he'd known the full extent of his relationship with the paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. He publicly backed the Labour peer at Sir Prime Minister's questions on Wednesday, only to sack him the following day. In his first comment since the sacking, Sir Keir insisted Lord Mandelson underwent a proper due diligence process.
Peter Mandelson, before he was appointed, went through a due diligence process. That's the Propriety and Ethics team went through a process. And therefore, I knew of his association with Epstein. But had I known then what I know now, I'd have never appointed him. Because what emerged last week were emails, Bloomberg emails, which showed that the nature and extent of the relationship that Peter Mandelson had with Epstein was far different to what I had understood to be the position when I appointed him.
Meanwhile, the Prime Minister's facing a fresh crisis as one of his top aides has been forced to resign over sexually explicit messages about Diane Abbott. Paul Ovenden has stepped down as Director of Strategy after what Number 10 have described as appalling and unacceptable exchanges about the Labour MP from 2017 were uncovered. Constance Martin and Mark Gordon have been jailed for 14 years each over the death of their newborn baby. In sentencing, the judge said the pair had thought only of themselves and showed no genuine remorse. The aristocrat and her convicted rapist partner went on the run with their newborn daughter, Victoria, to get away from social services after their 4 other children were taken into care. Danny Kruger, the Member of Parliament for East Wiltshire, has defected to Reform UK from the Conservatives. He becomes the first shadow cabinet minister and the first sitting Tory MP to defect to the party. He says the Conservatives are over. 8 people have been charged after disorder broke out during protests in central London at the weekend. 26 officers were injured and 24 people arrested at the Unite the Kingdom march organised by Tommy Robinson, which saw around 150,000 people taking part. The Met Police is appealing for the public's help to identify a further 11 people. The FBI say Charlie Kirk's alleged killer wrote a note indicating he was going to take out the Conservative activist before he shot him dead. The Bureau's director, Kash Patel, has also revealed that DNA on a towel wrapped around the suspected gun used to kill Mr Kirk has been matched to the suspect in custody. Well, Robinson was arrested on suspicion of murder on Friday, 2 days after Kirk was assassinated at Utah Valley University. Meanwhile, his friend, the US Vice President, JD Vance, has been paying tribute to Kirk while hosting the Late Activist podcast.
The last several days have been extremely hard for our country. They've been hard for me, hard for my family, hard for the countless people in this building.
Finally, the Duchess of Kent's coffin has been taken to Westminster Cathedral ahead of her funeral tomorrow. Well, a bagpiper was heard playing the pipes as the hearse left Kensington Palace. And the coffin arrived at the cathedral a short time ago. The Duchess, who died earlier this month at the age of 92, was a devout Catholic. Many members of the royal family, including the King and Queen, are expected to attend. That is it for the moment. Now it's back to Michelle.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Thank you very much for that. Hello and good evening to each and every single one of you. I'm Michelle Dewberry. This is Dewbs & Co. with you until 7 o'clock tonight. Alongside me, I've got my panel. Head of Policy for Reform UK, Zia Youssef, and Labour MP for Brent West, Barry Gardiner. Good evening, gents, to both of you. As, of course, to each and every single one of you at home, you're very welcome tonight. Join the conversation in all the usual ways. Email me, gbviews@gbnews.com. Go to the website, gbnews.com/yourset. Of course, you can tweet or you can X me. Even when I'm not on air, I do like to follow the inbox and follow the Your Say. And one of the things that's really struck me is the absolute outpouring of love and respect for, of course, the hitman, Ricky Hatton, the boxer there. He passed away at absolutely no age at all. I've got to tell you, I do just want to, on behalf of all the GB News viewers and, of course, myself, pass our love and support at this moment in time to his family. What a guy. His family, by the way, have said that he absolutely inspired generations. Yes, he did. Sending you all of our love and best wishes. Now, lots that we need to discuss tonight, ladies and gents. Were you at that big rally at the weekend, Unite the Kingdom? Tell me what you thought to it. Did you get anywhere near the stage? How do you feel the reaction was from the police? We'll come on to that, worry not. But before I do that, Reform UK, big news coming from that party today. It's got its first ever defection from a sitting MP, a Tory nonetheless, Danny Kruger. Let's hear from him what he had to say earlier on this morning.
The torch is already alight, already brighter than the one it is replacing, held aloft in firm and confident hands. And while the torch is different, the flame is the same. The things we Conservatives all believe in: respect for the law, respect for our traditions, personal liberty, national sovereignty, free markets, belief in family, community, country. The trinity of obligations that give us identity and security and purpose.
Well, that was crystal clear, wasn't it? I've got to tell you, many of you, I know this, found that quite an uplifting speech. Kemi Badenoch, though, I don't think she was quite as uplifted. Shall we hear from her?
Danny has made his case very clear that this is not about me. I can't be distracted by that, and I'm not going to get blown off course by these sorts of incidents. I know that this is the sort of thing that is going to happen while a party is changing. I am making sure that people understand what Conservative values are.
Zia Youssef, I mean, this is quite a coup for you guys this morning, and it really has marked you out in many people's eyes. Obviously, Kemi Badenoch would disagree, but has been the real opposition to the Labour Party. The flip side of this is other people are asking the questions. If you keep taking Tories, aren't you just going to become the Tories with a different badge?
Well, look, firstly, I think this is clear evidence again that the Tory party is dead. You even had Wes Streeting. It's extraordinarily rare that I would agree with anything Wes Streeting says, but as he said, the fight is now with Reform. It is clear the Conservatives are effectively no more as a political force. But I will say this too, you know, no one has been more critical of the Tory record in office, the 14 years of their appalling mismanagement of this country. Michelle, I've been on the show many times talking about it. Danny was not a minister. He's not someone who's trying to rewrite history and, you know, blame his colleagues for his own record. He's also a thoroughly decent man. He's a very devout Christian. I've gotten to know him well. This is not just about a headline of, you know, the first sitting MP ever, I think, actually, a Tory MP to defect to Reform. It's actually also really important that people note that Danny's going to be doing a really important job to get us ready for government. Not because we're taking anything for granted. I want to stress this. Nobody's going to work harder. No one has worked as hard, nor will we. We will continue to work extraordinarily hard to fight for every vote, to take our case to the British people. But we know we'll get no second chances, Michelle. And we know our inboxes are full of people telling us that Reform's their last hope. For millions of people around this country, they are telling us, do not screw this up. Because after decades of failure from the Uni Party, where no matter whom you voted for, you basically got the same thing: open borders, catastrophic mismanagement of the economy, the subordination of the rights of British citizens over the rights of foreign citizens. We can't screw this up, and that's why we've created this unit, the Preparing for Government unit. And you know, Danny is one of the most intelligent, thoughtful, and high integrity people in the House of Commons. We're delighted to welcome him.
Of course, some of you might not know who Danny Kruger is. He once, not that long ago actually, it feels like, he gave a very powerful speech to a pretty much empty chamber, you know. You might want to look that up if you get 5 minutes. Zia Youssef was just referencing Wes Streeting's tweet. He says, Danny Kruger is right about one thing: the Tories are over. The battle is now with Reform UK, and it's a fight that Labour must win on values as well as delivery. What did you think to the news today?
Well, I think you were right to point out that reform has a risky path to tread in who it accepts from the Conservative Party. Now, Zia said that Danny wasn't actually a minister during the Conservative government, that period of 14 years, but he was a party member and a member of Parliament during that time, and therefore one has to say that his judgment during that 14 years period was to support all that Zia's just said, and I would agree, was a disastrous period in governing this country. Look, the next election is 4 years away, and everybody should be focused on not on elections, but on delivery now. And I welcome any contribution that Zia or anybody else from any party can make that is going to help with delivery now.
Can I ask you this? In a minute, I'll come to this Unite the Kingdom rally. I'll come to that a bit later on. But with all due respect, your government is absolutely shambolic at the moment, and you just confidently state then it's going to still be 4 years until the next election. Do you honestly believe that?
Look, the thing about parliamentary majorities is that they make it very difficult to have elections before the term is up, unless it's the will of the Prime Minister at the time to do so. We've seen that historically. That's just the electoral arithmetic. It's not a statement about where the parties are. So I think it would be difficult to envisage a new general election, certainly before 3.5 years' time from now. Normally, if you think about it, an election cycle is 4 years. Latterly, it's gone to 5, but that's usually been because parties have been afraid, that they're going to lose. That's when they go to 5. That's what the last Conservative
Barry, to your credit,
and it's what,
to your credit, Barry, you have actually been a notable dissenting voice with regards to, I think it was on the BBC. You talked quite eloquently about, some of Starmer's failings and, this total centralisation, this kind of command that comes from number 10. I mean, in your personal opinion as Barry Gardiner, given what's going on with the country, given his appalling judgment clearly with regards to Mr Mandelson and that centralisation of command and total alienation of people on the ground around local issues, do you not think there's a compelling case for an earlier general election?
No, I think there's a case for the Prime Minister's team to begin to sort things out, begin to listen to backbench MPs and begin to listen to elements within the party who have been ignored and quite frankly, sometimes silenced.
Do you think there's any chance of that happening?
Yeah, I do. Actually, one of the most interesting conversations that I've had today was with one of the new parliamentary private secretaries to the Prime Minister, who wanted to talk about that interview I did on News.
When was the last time you spoke to the Prime Minister?
It was about 2 months ago.
Do you think that's reasonable?
Well, look, the Prime Minister's got a lot more important things to do than spend 5 or 10 minutes chatting with backbenchers all day.
Like protecting Peter Mandelson.
But, well, I think that's a low blow. But I do think that when politicians in your own party come to you and say, look, I need to speak to you about something, and I really would like 5-10 minutes with the Prime Minister. Can I get that? That should be facilitated and not blocked. So I think there's a lot of work to do. I make no bones about that, and I've said so, as you rightly say. But I do think that we're a long way from the general election, and we need now to focus on delivery.
I'll tell you, you are a man that delivers, because keen-eyed viewers will notice that sat in front of me, look at this, ladies and gents. Do you remember, was you watching the other day, we had this whole conversation about some biscuits. I had absolutely no idea what they were. Barry promised to bring some in, and he did. He is a man of his word when it comes to biscuits, and I like that. What are they again?
Fruit Shrewsbury's.
Fruit Shrewsbury's, there you go. I shall be helping myself to them, worry not. Oh, hang on, which camera? I don't know which camera am I on. I just think you just basically get a great shot of my bosom instead of the actual biscuits then, so I do apologise for that one, everyone. There you go. I don't know which camera I'm on, but there you go. There you go. Look at that. Oh, that's the end of the Shrewsbury's, I'm afraid. That's the end of the Shrewsbury's. 3-second rule, 3-second rule. Anyway, look, we've got a lot that we need to talk about after the break. Worry not. I want to get onto the Unite the Kingdom rally. Also, apparently, the one in, one out. They don't really like us calling that, but this migrant deportation flights, apparently they are going to commence this week. Do you believe that? I'll see you in 2.
This is our country, and we think it's amazing. From high tea to the high street, we love it all. Even the rain, we like that too. There's nowhere else we'd rather be. That's why we're here to be the fearless champion of Britain, its voices and its values. Because we are GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power?
Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber.
Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics.
We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Dewbs & Co with me, Michelle Dewberry, Barry Gardner and Zia Youssef. I've got to tell you, there's not a lot of people sharing your optimism that we're not going to have an early general election. What do you think to that? If you just tune in, we were just asking about the prospects of, do you think that we could see ourselves in a situation where we have an election earlier than planned? Barry is confidently saying no. Do you share that optimism or not? Victoria, you've got in touch saying that you was at that Unite the Kingdom rally at the weekend. You're saying you feel like people are portraying you as troublemakers. You're saying you're absolutely not that, and you had a wonderful day. I'll come to that, worry not. But of course, we speak often, don't we, about these not so small boats, massive things, by the way, often with a capacity of a double-decker bus. Anyway, I digress. We talk about what the solution is. Well, now, apparently, we're going to see it firsthand because we've spoken about this returns deal with France. These planes are apparently going to start deporting migrants back to France this week, Barry Gardner.
Yeah, well, and quite rightly too. But of course, this is only a pilot scheme, and it's not enough simply to be sending some of the people who come over illegally and who have no right to be here back to France. But the value of this is that we're now cooperating with our international partners. We have a legal agreement with them, and that means that we can now begin processing people who may have a right to be in this country through the Refugee Convention, processing them in other countries, starting with France, of course, and that is a big step forward, because if you can stop people on the route here, nobody wants to put their lives at risk in a small boat on the Channel. That is a risky thing to do. And if you can actually begin processing people before that, I think you'll stop some of that flow, and that's a very good thing.
They seem to be quite keen to get in those not-so-small boats, I've got to say. People often get in touch with me and say, Michelle, if you are able to claim asylum in a country, why don't they just get a flight here then and claim asylum when they get here?
Because the airlines don't allow you to board that flight unless you have the appropriate documentation.
Ah, you see, and this is the key. If you're trying to claim asylum, why wouldn't you have the appropriate documentation?
Well, very often because you've escaped from persecution. And look, this was built by the UK and other countries after the Second World War in response to the refugee crisis we had in Europe after the Second World War.
Conventions. I'm asking you about the individuals. If you want to, if you're leaving, if you're fleeing persecution, aka France,
you don't have time to get a visa from the country that you're ending up in. That's the point.
But many of these people, I would put it to you, and we know this as a fact, we've seen video footage of it, they don't even have their documentation because they discard them themselves.
Yeah, I know that some of the criminal gangs force them to shred their passports. Yeah.
But they're coming from France, and they're not coming from 1947 France.
No,
neither they're coming from 1944 France. They're coming from 2025 France, Barry. Come on.
You seriously
saying that there's any relevance of that refugee convention of 1951 to today? There is none whatsoever. Britain must disapply that convention in its entirety with regards to law in this country. And by the way, talking about the guidance is that initially it's going to be around 50 a week that might be taken back to France, which would mean even if the boats stop tomorrow, which they won't, it will take about 70 years to send back just the people who have arrived by boat over the last 7.5 years. And by the way, the boats are not going to stop tomorrow. And actually, as we speak, if you take the last few months, 19 times more people have arrived weekly in this country via small boat than would be sent back in terms of that 50. So this is just another example, Barry, of this Labour government taking the British people for mugs. I keep saying it, thinking that infantilising the British people, thinking they're mugs, and just having this Clinton card policy of one in, one out. And it's deeply offensive to the British people, because the people watching this programme know the reality.
I tell you what takes British people for mugs, and it's people like yourself who are saying it's all really easy. These other guys, they didn't want to solve the problem.
You don't want to solve the problem.
It's all really easy.
You need to pass legislation, Barry.
If only we got into power...
You need to pass, Barry,
If only we got into
legislation,
power, we could do it.
If you leave the ECHR and disapply all of those protocols, all of those international treaties, there's no way that would ever happen under Starmer, because he is literally a human rights lawyer. He is on the record as saying he prefers Davos to Westminster, Barry. So yes, it is actually very easy if you actually have a majority of MPs in the House of Commons who want to stop the boats, and if you have a Prime Minister who wants to do it.
Talk over them if you like.
No, we don't do talking over. Go on, Barry.
The point is, the Conservatives had 14 years to do it. They tried. They tried very hard to do it, right? And they didn't manage it. We are trying to do it, and we are beginning to manage to get the things that the Conservatives couldn't do, those international agreements, making sure that we get the police and the money in to disrupt what's going on. So, they had 14 years, they didn't manage to do it, but the idea that they didn't want to do it is complete nonsense. And it does take people for mugs if you go on saying to people, you know what, the other lot don't want to succeed, that's why you need us. People understand this is not as simple as you and Reform are painting it.
Well, then why the Tories had 14 years? By the way, no disagreement there. They were a catastrophe.
But this hasn't been a thing for 14 years, Barry.
ECHR, by the way, leaving the ECHR is a necessary but insufficient precondition. So long as that hasn't even happened, you're not even going to get close to solving the problem. So again, keep saying this. If you have the political will, if you have courage, if you have a leader who wants to do it and a majority in the House of Commons, it is actually easy to do.
Well, look, you at home, you are the all-important deciders of whether or not you ultimately believe. Do you think that the Labour Party has the political will or not? If you saw the scenes unfold at the weekend, the amount of people that took to the street with very clear messaging around this, many people would suggest that the answer to that question is no. People don't have that faith. Let's get into this Unite the Kingdom rally after the break.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, well, there's plenty of sunshine across Europe. There are a few showers around, but otherwise it's feeling very warm out there, a bit breezy across parts of Madeira and the Canary Islands, but across much of Portugal, Spain, France, Italy, lengthy sunny skies, and across Greece as well, not doing too bad. There are just a few showers towards the north of that, but otherwise a lot of sunshine on offer, temperatures up to 34 degrees.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good evening. Things are turning a bit calmer and a bit drier overnight. That doesn't mean it's going to be completely calm and dry tomorrow. There will still be a few showers around, but many of us will see a little bit more in the way of sunshine. It's been a boisterous day thanks to this area of low pressure. Still very windy out there across parts of the south where the isobars are particularly close together, but it is starting to ease down through the night. Still some heavy downpours to come across Northern Ireland, southern Scotland and northern England, and move back into North Wales later in the night as well. And a few showers keep going across Devon, Cornwall and Somerset. But many other areas will become drier. The wind's still fairly brisk, but coming generally a few notches down compared to today's very lively gusts. Temperatures start Tuesday about 10 or 11 Celsius. There will still be showers feeding into northern Scotland on a fairly brisk wind, but much of central and eastern Scotland having a fine sunny start to Tuesday. Much of Northern Ireland as well, but I suspect along the north coast staying fairly cloudy here. There's a line of thicker cloud and some showers that are going to feed across the Irish Sea into northwest England too, and we'll still have one or two scattered showers whizzing across southwest England. They will be moving through because the breeze will remain fairly brisk, and so we'll continue to see that zone of cloudier weather over southwest Scotland and northern England, provide a few showers that may get over the Pennines into the afternoon. One or two scattered showers continue over northern Scotland, but generally the east coast of Scotland, much of the Midlands and much of eastern England, dry and bright with some sunny spells. Winds lighter than today as well, and so feeling warmer with temperatures high teens, low 20s. It doesn't last. Another area of low pressure out here spills more wet and windy weather across the country during Tuesday night. It tries to clear through the course of Wednesday, but the dull, damp weather may linger across the south and northern Scotland. But it should cheer up for Northern Ireland and northern England. Going to stay blustery, however, through Wednesday, with more showery rain to come through the week.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good evening. This is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. Drivers on the M61 southbound should expect delays due to an accident between junctions 3 and 2, closing one lane. The A34 northbound in Oxfordshire is restricted to one lane due to a collision. Disruptions on the M5 northbound in Devon between junctions 28 and 27 have closed one lane. The A14 westbound in Northamptonshire is shut between junctions 13 Thrapston and 10 Burton Latimer, causing delays. And on the trains, Southern services face major disruptions in Brighton and Hove, while Avanti West Coast services experience delays between London Euston and Watford Junction. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Dewbs & Co. with me, Michelle Dewberry. I've got Zia Youssef alongside me and Barry Gardner. John says, Michelle, you've just been talking about the French deportation situation. What happens when they go back to France? What would stop them getting into another Bert or a lorry? I think, John, you raise an interesting point, and I think the pushback to that might be they collect biometrics or something. But look, you know what? Everyone wants this problem to be solved, so let's just maybe see, wait and watch that way and see how effective it actually is. Speaking about things that are effective, were you at that rally at the weekend, Unite the Kingdom? According to many people in the media, the turnout for that rally was 150,000 max. Well, as I'm talking to you, I shall be playing to you some aerial footage. This one was captured by The Guardian. Now, I do confess I am indeed a spectacle wearer, so I do need a bit of help with my vision, but even from what I can see, this looks like monumentally more people than 150,000 people. Bottom line is, scores and scores of people turned out to the streets. This rally reached millions of people, whether on the streets or watching on streams live. The primary thing that they were protesting about was a free speech rally. It meant different things to different people, Barry Gardner. Yeah. But one of the core tenets that united a lot of people, that they were anti your government. When you see those images, what do you feel?
Look, I take the rally very seriously, and I take the messages that members of the public were trying to convey very seriously. You're right to say that there were a mixture of reasons that people were there. That some were talking about free speech, some were talking about what they perceived to be a two-tier society. Some were disaffected for other reasons, and of course immigration was a key theme. And I think all of those things need to be addressed. And I think it was a great shame that although there were so many people there who wanted to exercise the right of free speech quite properly, that was spoilt by a minority who then engaged in violence, the 26 police officers that were injured. I think what they did was to spoil what otherwise was a rally for people to get their point across quite properly in our society, and to use the virtue of free speech that we have here in order to do that. But I was very concerned that an American multimillionaire was able to then spread words of violence and urged people to fight back or die.
Well, I want to explore all of those points.
I thought that was really wrong, that somebody from abroad in particular should be trying to incite people in this country to fight and to overthrow its government in that way.
I mean, I want to...
That's not free speech. That is abuse of free speech.
I want to address all of those points, actually. But I found it quite interesting that one of your key takeaways, you say that the arrests of those moronic people who assaulted police officers, there's no justification, quite frankly, for assaulting frontline police officers. Exactly. You know my thoughts on frontline police officers. And if you are one of those people that got arrested, you are a disgrace. You should be ashamed of yourself. That didn't spoil the event, though. And one of the things that I found really interesting, Sadiq Khan, he posted a tweet after the Notting Hill Carnival. Yeah. And he basically tweeted, sorry, let me look at the one that he did after the Unite the Kingdom. He said, "My thanks go to the officers policing protesters today. Most protesters were peaceful, but a number of officers were assaulted and arrests have been made. Violence and attacking police officers is completely unacceptable." So this does seem to be a consistent Labour line to tackle this and highlight and focus on the 20-odd arrests that were made. Unacceptable to attack the police officers. But why then? So just to give you some context, I think there's been about 25 arrests for the Unite the Kingdom rally. Notting Hill Carnival, 528 arrests, 200 of which, by the way, was at Children's Day, ladies and gents. This is how the Labour Mayor of London describes that. The world-famous Notting Hill Carnival returned to the heart of West London this weekend. Londoners and visitors came together to celebrate our Caribbean communities. The streets were alive with music and joy, showing the best of our city and the power of culture to unite us. Not a single mention there, though, about the violence that did that, and that completely dwarfs the number of arrests at the Unite the Kingdom rally. So I find it fascinating that so many people, off the back of this rally, which, by the way, I found quite uplifting and inspiring, that rally, I've got to tell tell you. But why focus on that small, tiny, disgraceful minority that disgrace themselves, quite frankly? Anyway, it's you, Youssef.
That's a great point. I think it's an excellent point, really well articulated. The hideous hypocrisy of the Mayor of London in, frankly, turning a literally blind eye to the manifold more greater number of people who were arrested at the Notting Hill Carnival relative to the protest that we saw at the weekend. Look, number one, I think the mainstream media reports about the numbers there understate the true numbers. Number two, I'd echo your point, Michelle, that anyone assaulting police officers should be thoroughly ashamed of themselves, and we obviously condemn that. But we saw lots of union flags, and there are a lot of people who are just ordinary people. You saw Trevor Phillips, of all people, from Sky News, who actually gave to his credit, an accurate assessment of the people who were there. Notably, Sky News appeared to have deleted the tweet because he was doing such big numbers and people were actually giving them credit for it. So, of course, Sky News deleted it. But look, was obviously a large number of people, a vast number of people who came together to protest against the policies of this government. Probably to some degree, actually, the policies of the previous government as well. Basically just saying, look, we love our country and we want it back. We are tired of being classed as second-class citizens in our own country. And sadly, going back to the earlier points that we made, so long as the UK is a member of the ECHR, foreign courts will determine our laws and not us. So long as we have not disapplied those international treaties, foreign courts will determine our laws.
Do you condemn the foreign billionaire who actually incited people saying violence is coming, you need to fight back or die? Will you condemn that?
Well, Barry, Elon has been incredibly vindictively negative about Nigel, our leader, for a very long time now. You're not going to hear me sit here and post a defence of Elon's political judgment.
I'm asking you to condemn
this,
it, not to post a defence.
Well, one's got to understand. No,
hang on. Before we start condemning stuff, can I just show the viewers what he said? Because a lot of viewers might not have seen it. So let me just play you a couple of clips from Elon Musk so you know what we're talking about.
Yeah, because it's important that people see it. Yeah.
Whether you choose violence or not, violence is coming to you. You either fight back or you die.
I mean, so that's the bit that people are upset about. There's a broader clip. Let me just play you this.
I want Britain to be greater than it ever has been. I want Britain to remain Britain. I think there's something beautiful about being British. And what I see happening is a destruction of Britain. Initially a slow erosion, but a rapidly increasing erosion of Britain with massive uncontrolled migration.
Personally, I mean, because I've watched have you watched the whole interview?
No, I haven't watched the whole interview. I've watched the bits where he says, violence is coming.
Yeah.
And then goes on to say, you have to fight back or die.
See, I think it's always really important when we're going to discuss matters to actually watch the whole thing so you actually know what you're talking about with full context. So I did watch the whole thing multiple times over, I have to say. It's about 18 minutes long. It's Elon Musk. He's talking downstream, remotely to Tommy Robinson on the screen. What he's expressing, he says he's got a British heritage in his family and he feels passionate about the country of Britain. What he's expressing, and he's saying that he's directing his message in the most part to what he calls the reasonable centre. He's raising concerns about the erosion of free speech. He was wearing an Orwell T-shirt. Raising concerns about the erosion of free speech, uncontrolled immigration. He says about a government that's not listening to its people. He's saying that he feels that basically the people's needs, wishes, etc. are being completely disregarded. He talks about children being mass raped and governments being complicit in covering that up. Then what he's explaining to people is that essentially he feels if all of this continues, that violence is ultimately on its way and ultimately people will then need to fight. You stand and fight. You do nothing, your whole country's going to change. You have to fight back. He then goes on to clarify, in my mind anyway, that it's a rally. He wants people to rally together and fight for the future. I personally, happy to be corrected by other people's views, I didn't regard it as a call to get out on the street with a pitchfork.
Well, I respect your view of it. I think there's another interpretation, and that is that he was trying to G people up and direct them towards violence. And I don't think that's an outlandish interpretation of what he was doing, nor do I think it was an outlandish interpretation of what Tommy Robinson is about. And indeed, he's a convicted criminal for just doing exactly that. So.
If Tommy Robinson was here now, I mean, are you suggesting that Tommy Robinson is pro encouraging violence?
I am not going to defame anybody on your programme.
No, but that's what you just suggested, that was the same kind of thing. I'm just
what I said is he is a convicted criminal, and that's on the record. So, I mean, I don't think even Tommy Robinson's closest supporters would suggest that he is not a convicted criminal.
Well, yeah, he's got a criminal record. Lots of people in this country have a criminal records. Criminal convictions, of course, obviously get spent after a certain period of time. But yes, of course, the man's got a criminal record. If he was sitting here now, I'm telling you, he would be saying that he doesn't condone violence. In fact, actually, he told people on that rally, do not drink alcohol, be sensible, do not rise to provocation, and absolutely be peaceful and non-violent. Zia Youssef, but let's not beat about the bush, because also on that stage was Ben Habib, founder of Advance UK, or whatever it's called, Elon Musk supporting him, supporting Tommy Robinson, a direct contradiction to Reform UK.
Sure, and that's democracy. That's democracy,
but
right?
Does it worry you? Does it trouble you?
Look, you know, we at Reform are focused on getting our message out to the British people. So far, the reception has been good. We're going to work really hard. I think that, you know, again, all of this discussion about Elon's comments and, you know, whatever interpretation one wants to take, I agree with you, Michelle. People should just go and watch what he said for themselves and form their own view. Distracts from the fact that a vast, vast number, clearly hundreds of thousands of people, did take to the streets to protest against the policies of this government. And I keep saying this, we do live in a two-tier society where ridiculously, preposterously, insanely, the rights of British people are subordinate to the rights of foreign citizens. It's disgusting. And this is why, actually, I want to make the point, you know, a lot of the mainstream politicians say, oh, reform make it sound so easy. Well, there are some problems in this country, some problems that are going to be really difficult to solve. That particular problem of the legal rights of British citizens being subordinate to those of foreign citizens is an easy problem to solve. And I want to offer one more piece of hard evidence for the statement I just made. Remember when that hotel in Epping, the Migrant Hotel, there was an appeal? The Home Office, the government's lawyers said that explicitly they made the argument that the rights of the asylum seekers takes precedence over local residents.
Yeah, they did. And of course, Bridget Phillipson was asked about that in an interview and said, essentially, do you agree with the things that your government solicitors are saying? And she essentially answered yes to that question. But look, I also don't want to beat about the bush, because it wasn't just a distrust and dissatisfaction with the current government that people seem to have. One of the themes that was coming through thick and fast, Zia Youssef, was many people seem to be concerned about the spread and the rise of Islam in this country. In particular, Tommy Robinson, he highlights concerns. He would put to people that actually there's a lot of people in this country that believe in like an extreme interpretation of Islamic doctrine. He would put that is incompatible with Western society. What do you think to that?
Well, I think it doesn't do anyone any favours, this two-tier policing and two-tier justice system. So whether it's two-tier policing of the Gaza marches, obviously the freedom to protest is...
making with respect. No. The point I'm making with respect is that many people have got a concern that the face and shape and culture and religion of this country is changing at a rate and a pace of knots now. Many people on those marches and within those speeches were raising concern about the pace of Islam growing in this country. Mm-hmm. What do you have any concerns or thoughts on that? Does it bother you? Or
well, I think that the point I was trying to make there was that the extreme elements of that community are basically given, in many cases, a free pass, whether it's at protests, whether it's, frankly, crazy things that some imams say and get away with it because of the two-tieredness of our policing and justice system. So that's the first point.
No, they don't say it because of the, they don't say it because of the two-tier of the justice system. They say it because they believe it.
That's the first point. The second point is that, you know, the roots, ultimately, this is a Christian country. And I think that the sheer scale of mass immigration and the composition of it, a massive number. So if you look at the Boris wave, post-2019, the vast majority of people coming are from non-EU countries. You look at the people coming across by small boat, unvetted, undocumented, unchecked. The vast majority of those are from Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, Syria, countries with not a great record in terms of their views on the UK. So I do understand those concerns.
I've got to tell you as well, there is no justification for anyone attacking frontline police officers. And if you are sitting there and you were someone that did that, then actually, quite frankly, you should be ashamed of yourself. The only thing that I would say, because I've watched so many hours of footage and all the rest of it now, and I've spoken to many of you, I do think actually the Met Police do have some questions to answer as to how on earth the two sides, that obviously they're never going to be sitting there, you know, breaking bread together, are they? How were they able to get so close to each other to be able to kind of gird and all the rest of it? So I would personally ask a few questions about some of the policing strategies that took place. And I know many of you have got in touch and said that you travelled for hours and hours to attend that rally. You couldn't get anywhere near it. And you've told me that there was absolutely no communication coming through whatsoever as to what you could do, where you could go. And some of you have said that you felt that the Met Police were quite heavy-handed. Of course, the Met Police, I am sure, if they were here, would absolutely deny that. What do you make to it all? One of the themes coming through thick and fast at the weekend, Charlie Kirk. Let's discuss this after the break.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Dewbs & Co with me, Michelle Dewberry, Zia Youssef and Barry Gardner. I've got to tell you, there's a lot of people getting in touch with me that were at that event on Sunday. You're sharing me with all your stories. Lots of you had a very good day and lots of you do feel quite upset actually by the way that you have been characterised in the media broadly. I say this, let people characterise you in this way because I'm telling you, things have changed, ladies and gents, and people very soon will need to catch up with that. That's what I say. But I want to talk to you, Charlie Kirk. We know this story, absolutely disgusting, sickening assassination of him. Well, and tonight, Vice President J.D. Vance, he has actually hosted the Charlie Kirk show. Let's take a watch.
I don't think that I'm alone in saying that Charlie was the smartest political operative I ever met. Everyone knew him as this fearless debater, this guy who would take the conservative message into hostile places and inspire younger generations to have courage. One thing that's hit a lot of those young Americans over the last week was how Charlie was there for them when others were not. When they were afraid to speak their minds, when they were afraid of what a professor would say, when they were afraid that they would be shouted down by their peers, Charlie was there.
Barry Gardner, I mean, I've seen so many clips, so many people in different guises now laughing about the fact that Charlie Kirk, a father of two, was murdered.
Absolutely disgusting. Look, like Charlie Kirk, I'm a Christian. Like Charlie Kirk, I believe in speaking and not violent, but actually in rebutting people through argument. I come to very different conclusions politically than Charlie Kirk does in terms of my Christianity. I base it on the Good Samaritan. I base it on what Jesus said about the way in which we approach others. And so I don't agree with many of his politics, but I think it is repellent, absolutely repellent, that anybody can seem to be rejoicing and laughing at what has happened. It's always been a mystery to me how anyone can feel themselves honoured by the humiliation of a fellow human being. That is not something that I can stand.
It's awful, and I've got to say respect to you, Barry, because often you will disagree, whether that's with me, whether with viewers, whether with the fellow panellist. But you do. You come here, you put your case, you have conviction in what you feel and what you believe, and respect to you, by the way, because there's not many people in the Labour Party that have got the chops to actually do that. No, I'm being serious. So many of them are absolutely pathetic. They choose not to talk to you, the GB News viewers. I bet my bottom dollar, when it starts to get closer to election day, they'll want to start talking to you then.
I'll add the Prime Minister to that list.
So what do you think to this Charlie Kirk situation?
Well, I think he was a towering figure. An absolutely towering figure, actually not just in America, but in the UK too. I mean, there's so many, particularly young people, who really looked up to him. It's a catastrophe, a morbid tragedy. And, you know, you see some of the things that what Bob Villan said, you know, disgusting, absolutely disgusting things. But I also want to make the point, not only have there been this abundance of people celebrating joyfully the brutal murder of Charlie Kirk, there have also been an abundance of people, including in the UK, Michelle, who have called for the assassination and murder of our party leader, Nigel. And I want to draw, maybe put this to you, Barry. How is it not two-tier that you have the creator, Father Ted, who's told, who gets arrested by 5 armed police officers for saying he's going to, quote, kick in the balls some trans people, when there are people literally calling for Nigel's murder, and the police have apparently have told Nigel it doesn't reach across the threshold, at which point an arrest should be made. That is evidence of two-tier.
That's the million-dollar question. We'll perhaps answer that on another programme. Look, I would make a plea to all of you. Please look at stuff properly with context online before you make judgments about people. Accuracy really does matter. For now, thank you, panel. Thanks to you at home. Have a great night. I'll see you tomorrow night.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption.
Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good evening. Things are turning a bit calmer and a bit drier overnight. That doesn't mean it's going to be completely calm and dry tomorrow. There will still be a few showers around, but many of us will see a little bit more in the way of sunshine. It's been a boisterous day thanks to this area of low pressure. Still very windy out there across parts of the south where the isobars are particularly close together, but it is starting to ease down through the night. Still some heavy downpours to come across Northern Ireland, southern Scotland and northern England, and move back into North Wales.